Zach Wilson. Wow, what a change of scenery it is for Zach Wilson as he just got traded to the Broncos. It seems like he will be in a quarterback competition with Jarrett Stidham for the Broncos QB1 job. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Zach Wilson getting traded from the Jets as they are moving on from the Zach Wilson era. The Jets with this trade now are going all in on a veteran quarterback room consisting of Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod Taylor as their top two quarterbacks on their roster. With the Zach Wilson trade happening now, it represents a fresh start for Zach Wilson as Broncos head coach Sean Payton will attempt to save Zach Wilson's NFL career. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. Who won the Zach Wilson trade? Jets or Broncos? Honestly, in this trade, there is no true winner in this trade, but if I had to pick in terms of who was the biggest winner out of this trade, it honestly has to be Zach Wilson. Why do I say Zach Wilson is the biggest winner out of all these trades that happened? Because of the fact that Zach Wilson was able to actually get traded for something. When Zach Wilson requested a trade from the Jets about a month ago, I thought in my mind, there is no way an NFL team is going to trade for Zach Wilson. But you know what? Zach Wilson somehow, some way managed to get himself traded from the New York Jets to a team that desperately needs a starting quarterback this year. You look at how the Denver Broncos, they cut Russell Wilson and are essentially paying him $85 million over 2 years to not play for the Denver Broncos, which makes me wonder why in the heck are the Denver Broncos getting rid of Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson was still a productive player for the Denver Broncos last season. Now, do I think Russell Wilson is a good quarterback in the NFL still? Absolutely not. I think Russell Wilson is washed. But as far as I'm concerned with Russell Wilson compared to the other quarterbacks on the market for the Denver Broncos, he is an upgrade over those guys. He obviously is better than Zach Wilson. Obviously, Zach Wilson is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't know how Zach Wilson was drafted with the number 2 overall pick just a few years ago. I said at the time that Zach Wilson would be a major bust on the New York Jets if they took him with the 2nd overall pick. I think a lot of people thought that Zach Wilson was going to be a major bust at the NFL level. The only reason why Zach Wilson was rated as highly as he was because of the fact that he made an amazing throw at a pro day at BYU. And because he was able to make that amazing throw at BYU, the New York Jets thought in their mind, wow, we're about to get ourselves the next Aaron Rodgers or the next Patrick Mahomes. For some odd reason, the New York Jets thought that Zach Wilson was going to become their version of Patrick Mahomes or their version of Josh Allen. I don't know how they came to that conclusion. I think a lot of people would have realized that Zach Wilson was not an NFL caliber quarterback at BYU and that his ceiling was probably somebody like a Mitchell Trubisky, who, by the way, is another draft bust in the NFL, which means that Zach Wilson should not have been drafted in the top 2 whatsoever. I cannot believe he got drafted that high in a draft class that had Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. Speaking of those guys, all 4 of those guys after Trevor Lawrence have now been traded from their original team that was drafted. And the thing was, the 2021 draft class was really stacked. You had Michael Parsons in that draft, you had Patrick Surtain, and you had a lot of good players in that draft with countless others. But the fact that none of these quarterbacks outside of Trevor Lawrence even became good quarterbacks at the NFL level, it just speaks volume as to how poorly they were developed by the organization and or the fact that they were really not talented whatsoever. Zach Wilson, in my mind, is one of the worst quarterbacks to have ever stepped foot on an NFL field. This guy was Jimmy Clausen level bad. You look at how Zach Wilson couldn't even score 10 touchdowns a year. I mean, at least Desmond Ridder can do that. And everybody thinks Desmond Ridder is a trash quarterback at the NFL level. But even Desmond Ridder was a more productive player at the quarterback position compared to Zach Wilson, which is saying something. Even Trevor Siemian was better than Zach Wilson at certain points last season. And Trevor Siemian is one of the worst quarterbacks that I have ever seen play on an NFL field. My point with Zach Wilson is he should be thankful that he even has another opportunity to be a starting quarterback at the NFL level. This dude couldn't even score 10 touchdowns a year with the New York Jets. That's not even to say that scoring 10 touchdowns a year is even good. That's actually pretty pathetic. But the fact that Zach Wilson got traded to a team that needs a quarterback, and it seems like they're going to roll with Zach Wilson as their starting quarterback, Zach Wilson should be thanking his stars that he's getting another opportunity to be a starting quarterback. And the thing with Zach Wilson is he actually gets to work with one of the better offensive minds in in Sean Payton. We all know that Sean Payton knows offense and that he knows how to develop quarterbacks. He might not have strong patience for developing quarterbacks, but he can certainly develop quarterbacks to the most of their extent. There's a reason why he turned Drew Brees into a Hall of Fame quarterback. There's a reason why every time the New Orleans Saints had a backup quarterback in, they played really productive football. And obviously, if Zach Wilson doesn't succeed on the Denver Broncos, it's pretty safe to say that he will never succeed anywhere in the National Football League. As far as whether I think this was a good move for the Denver Broncos, heck no, this was a horrible move by the Denver Broncos. What are you doing? Why are you giving up draft picks for Zach Wilson? Why don't you just wait till the New York Jets cut Zach Wilson? Zach Wilson has no value to me. I mean, you would have been better off if you just stuck off with Jarrett Stidham as your starting quarterback or something like that. Not to say that Jarrett Stidham is even worth being a starting caliber quarterback, but Jarrett Stidham in his limited action has been a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. Everybody knows Zach Wilson is a trash quarterback at the NFL level, and you can tell me that the New York Jets failed to develop Zach Wilson whatsoever, or that they didn't really give him a good environment to succeed in. But you guys have to also ask this. You look at Sam Darnold, another draft bust at the NFL level that was drafted by the New York Jets. He was given 3 years to be a starting quarterback for the Jets. Sam Darnold is not considered to be a good quarterback whatsoever, but Sam Darnold is way better than Zach Wilson, and that's saying something. That should tell you everything that you need to know about Zach Wilson not being an NFL caliber quarterback. Zach Wilson, to me, should be playing in the XFL. He should not be a quarterback that is playing at the professional football league. He needs to be playing in a developmental league, or they should send him to the CFL or something like that, because Zach Wilson has no awareness whatsoever. His arm strength is good, yes, but his accuracy is horrible. He can't read a defense to save his life, and he's a terrible leader. Remember the time where Zach Wilson lost a game 10-3 against the New England Patriots? Then he had the audacity to say, that wasn't my fault why we lost that game. The team needs to be better around me. Like, bro, you were the reason why you lost that game. How do you only score 3 points in a league where they favor offense more than ever? And you look at how Zach Wilson has never been good at any point in his career for the most part. The only thing Zach Wilson has is a cannon for an arm. But honestly, who doesn't have a cannon for an arm at the NFL level? There are a ton of guys at the NFL level that have strong arms. The question is, do you have it in between your ears? And obviously, Zach Wilson doesn't have the brain that it takes to be a good quarterback at the NFL level. I can't believe that the Denver Broncos are willing to go ahead and roll the dice with Zach Wilson at the quarterback position. Now, does training for Zach Wilson guarantee that the Broncos won't look for a quarterback at pick 12? No, of course not. I think the Broncos are still going to draft a quarterback at pick 12, or at least that's what they should be thinking in their head, because there is no way you could be selling people that Zach Wilson is going to be your week 1 starter for the 2024 NFL season. I mean, the Denver Broncos already are under a lot of pressure from their fan base because of the fact that they haven't made the playoffs since 2015, and that they haven't been able to get a good quarterback on the roster whatsoever in a very long time. And if you're trying to convince fans that Zach Wilson is the answer to your problems at the quarterback position, well, that's not really a real answer, is it? The fact is, the Denver Broncos were not able to get anything noteworthy for what they needed at the quarterback position. Now they're consisting themselves of a quarterback room involving Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, and Ben DiNucci. That's not a winning quarterback room whatsoever. To me, when I look at the Denver Broncos right now, they are the worst team in the AFC by a country mile. They are not going to be a good football team next year. And as for the Jets, hard to say that they won this trade considering they got so little in return, but I'm going to say that the New York Jets won this trade because of the fact that they were able to get something in return for Zach Wilson. Yes, I know that it was barely anything in return for Zach Wilson, but at least it was something. At least the New York Jets got a draft pick. At least the New York Jets didn't have to cut Zach Wilson. I thought that Zach Wilson would have to get cut by the New York Jets in order for Zach Wilson to find a job in the NFL. But the fact that a team was even interested in Zach Wilson, you know what? That tells me that the New York Jets did a pretty good job negotiating that trade, because of the fact that Zach Wilson is not an NFL caliber quarterback whatsoever. I mean, obviously, you look at how the Denver Broncos, to me, they get a D- in this trade. The only reason why they don't get an F is because they did need a quarterback in the quarterback room, and the fact that they didn't give up a whole lot to get Zach Wilson. They basically got him for free. Yes, I know they gave up a low draft pick number, but they basically didn't have to give up much of anything to get Zach Wilson. And as for the New York Jets, I'm going to give them a D+ in this trade because of the fact that they were able to get Zach Wilson in return for something. But again, it's hard to say that the New York Jets really won this trade when they've drafted 2 draft busts at the quarterback position in the last 10 years. It's hard to say that in general, but at least good riddance with Zach Wilson, and hopefully they can figure out their issues at the quarterback position moving forward. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers can turn out to play productive football for the New York Jets moving forward. I know I want that to happen. As an Aaron Rodgers fan, Aaron Rodgers is my favorite quarterback at the NFL level. He's the guy that got me into watching football, so hopefully he plays well next season. And obviously the real reason why Zach Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos is pretty simple. The Denver Broncos needed bodies at the quarterback position, and they weren't confident that they were going to get a quarterback with the 12th overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft. Now, whether or not I agree with that statement in real life, well, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm just telling you guys why I believe the Denver Broncos trade for Zach Wilson. It's because of the fact that they just needed other quarterbacks in the quarterback room, and they're thinking, okay, Zach Wilson was a former draft bust for the Jets. Let me see if I can go ahead and fix him. That's probably the mindset Sean Payton has right now for Zach Wilson. I easily will predict that Zach Wilson will not work out in the Broncos whatsoever. So that is why the Jets wanted the Zach Wilson trade, as they are moving on from one of the biggest draft busts ever in recent memory. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, let me shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and that Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.